Oh my. The Flames of Justice. 18th of February, 10 a.m. The Old Bailey Courtroom. That's it. No number 1, no number 2. Ooh. So this is the highest court in Great Britain. The Old Bailey. Centuries of history in this place is palpable, isn't it? So different to the Supreme Court in Japan. Feels both imposing and serene at the same time. The atmosphere almost makes words redundant. Whatever the country, determining a person's guilt. Just looking at that guy with the hat on, like in the shadows over there. Determining a person's guilt or innocence is always a solemn affair. May I say something, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, yes, what? Your eyes look ready to pop out of your head again. I know, but I just can't help it. Oh my. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here today to determine the guilt or innocence of Mr. Magnus McGilded. I now call upon the counsel for the prosecution and the defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is fully prepared. That must be the Reaper of the Bailey, or a vampire, one of the two. He really does look fully prepared to dispatch his next poor victim to the underworld. Counsel for the defense, you appear to be Eastern. Do you speak English? Huh? Oh, yeah, yes, of course. Sorry. But he asked if the defense was ready. And I couldn't be further from ready if I tried. Those eyes please me, Nipponese. They shroud your fear, your doubt, your trepidation. They run wild, clinging to some phantom notion of courage. The quintessential look of a sacrificial lamb. Cold shiver just ran down my spine, all the way to the tips of my toes. He's nodded off. Now, Mr. McGilded. Yes, my lord? You stand accused of murder, a capital offense. You could be sent to the gallows if found guilty. Are you quite sure you wish to entrust your defense to this foreigner? As I've always said, my lord, 'tis a grand thing to give opportunities to the young, even if the fellow is a student from some little island off in the Far East. I mean, to be fair, Britain's a little island, so... It's not the British way to ignore the dangers, to yourself and give those less fortunate a fair chance. I'd like to think that acts of chivalry do the great British Empire proud. Listen to Mr. McGilded, what a fine gentleman London has in him. To hear that he donated £5,000 to the government the other day. Mother, please, may we go and play in McGilded Park? Okay. Seems as though everyone in the public gallery is firmly behind Mr. McGilded. That's definitely welcome news, and he certainly has a way with words. Surprised he couldn't convince anyone to defend him. Eloquently put, Mr. McGilded. A most laudable sentiments. Now, the time's come. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm sure I need hardly remind you that you 6 members of the public, why has he got a knife, have been selected for impartiality. Are you ready to proceed? Yes, my lord. If the task is to send rotters to the gallows where they belong, I'm more than ready. At the manor, his lordship always says we should dispose of rubbish promptly. Naturally, I agree. Ha! Any criminals here will soon be wishing they never set eyes on me. Just straight past. I feel a chill. Oh, don't mind me, my dears. I'll just be getting on with my knitting. I must finish these mitts for my grandson. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo, these people are The jury. Yes. That's something we don't have in Japan yet. That's right. We only ever read about it. But here in Great Britain, the court's final verdict depends on the opinions of these 6 jurors. She's doing her knitting. It's just very strange. The judge passes sentence according to the law, but the jurors determine guilt based on common sense. So the defendant is ultimately judged from 2 completely different points of view. How exactly do the jurors give their verdict? Yes. That I don't know, but I'm sure to become clear as the trial progresses. Yes. Prosecutor Van Zeiss. My lord. It's been a number of years since we've seen you here in the courtroom. I thought you'd renounced your fame. I am known as the Reaper of the Bailey, my lord. Infamy, rather than fame, I would say. But yes, 5 years have passed since I last spread my wings in this capacity. So, what brings you back? Is there some change of circumstance of which the court should be aware? All the dots, my lord. I leave that to your imagination, my lord. That's close on that one. So the Reaper has been out of action for 5 years. Why did he have to choose today of all days to make a comeback? Don't lose heart, Mr. Naruhodo. As you wish, sir. The court nevertheless welcomes your return. Now then, opening statements, I think? Summary of the case, if you please. Certainly, my lord. As your lordship is aware, this is a case of overwhelming simplicity. You must be the only ones in here who aren't aware. The incident took place in the late evening, 3 days past. The hour was some minutes after 10. The victim was a maker of building bricks, known in the community as Thrice Fried Mason. Sorry? Thrice? He was a very accomplished craftsman. The bricks he fired were said to be almost indestructible. The victim's corpse was discovered in an omnibus in service on the streets of London at the time. A dagger that had been thrust into the victim's abdomen is believed to be the ultimate cause of death. Here is the autopsy report from the investigating medical officer at Scotland Yard. Thank you, counsel. I shall accept that and the photograph as evidence. It's just strange it's not photographic print anymore. The autopsy report has been entered into the court record. The photograph of the crime scene has been entered into the court record. And one further item of evidence. The prosecution wishes to submit these as well. And these are... Good lord! Is that blood, counsel? Yes, my lord. Seized by a policeman who arrived at the scene. These gore-soaked gloves were taken from the hands of the accused when he was arrested. What? Mr. Gilded's gloves had blood on them? Oh. Yes, I will accept these as evidence as well. The defendant's leather gloves have been entered into the court record. How did I get into this? I'm backed into a corner before I even started. Continuing. According to the driver of the omnibus, there were only 2 passengers traveling inside his vehicle at the time. Only 2. Obviously, one of those passengers was the deceased brickmaker, Mr. Mason. The other was the accused. Magnus McGilded. Well, rather damning circumstances to say the least. Defendant, what say you? Well, of course, I have no recollection of such a thing. Mr. McGilded? To be sure, I rode the omnibus that evening. But whenever I'm in a carriage, I'm taken with a fierce tiredness, and I always come to it. Are you claiming to have been asleep? 'Tis the motion of the carriage, my lord. Lilton, so it is. And when I opened my eyes again, it was a desperate sight before me. The body of a man I had never laid eyes on before in my life. Now I ask yous, what good-hearted soul wouldn't rush to help a fella bleeding from his stomach? I wasn't about to stop worrying about me gloves now, was I? I reached out to give the man a hand. So the blood got onto the gloves then, after the man had been killed. Unfortunately, that statement of the driver's is only the beginning. But that's not all of it. There were multiple witnesses to the precise moment at which the brickmaker was fatally stabbed. Order, order, order! Yes. When the killing took place, only the victim and the accused were inside the carriage. And there were witnesses to the crime. This is not just a case of compelling evidence. It's the nail in the coffin for the accused. Thank you, counsel. The circumstances of the crime have been made quite clear. I think we'll hear the testimony from the witnesses, first of all. Your wish is my command. Bailiff, bring the witnesses in at once. It's quite a few. His hat keeps falling off. Witnesses, your names and occupations. My name is, well, everyone calls me Beppo. I drive an omnibus in the East End. Quite cold. Bruce Fairplay. I'm a banker in the city. You're what? My name's First. Lady First. I am... Oh my god, Lady First. I make hats for gents. Let's begin by confirming the facts. 3 days ago, a short time after 10 o'clock in the evening, all of you present in the stand were in an omnibus and witness to the aforementioned incident. Was that correct? Yes, sir. Quite right. Yes, sir, that's right, sir. Very well, then. Let's proceed to your formal testimonies, please. Each of you will tell the court precisely what you saw. Oh, my. What the witnesses saw. It was the last bus of the evening, so I had a few customers. I remember it well. The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus. Then out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife right into his guts. That's right. He stabbed him. I screamed at it. Couldn't help it. As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus and then I saw it too. An ambiguous testimony, I must say. Exactly, my lord. These men witnessed the incident in the omnibus with their own eyes. I'd like to ask a question, if I may. Yes, counsel. Well, this testimony makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. Why not? Well, the incident took place inside a moving carriage, didn't it? As has been clearly stated from the outset, yes? Well, in that case, how could those two witnesses possibly have seen what happened? There's no way they could have seen the inside of the moving carriage. How quaint. I'd read that civilization in the Eastern Island nations was a good century behind our own. But you're here in London yourself. Are you really so ignorant about our omnibuses? Huh? Tell me, my Nipponese friend, have you ever travelled in an omnibus? Well, no. We only arrived in London this morning. No matter. I've arranged for us all to see for ourselves. The actual scene of the crime, that is. What do you mean? The actual scene? How? A carriage is designed to be moved, after all. Presumably you understand that much. Yes. The omnibus in which this bloody crime took place is here today, in this very building. Here? What? The entire carriage? Bailiff, bring forth the stricken omnibus. Oh my. So that's an omnibus. The omnibus. Can't believe they could bring something so enormous in here. Great Britain's courtrooms are amazing. As you can see, the omnibus is pulled by 2 horses and carry up to 8 passengers. 4 passengers seated inside the enclosed cabin, and another 4 on the rooftop deck above. Every Londoner knows that the best views of the city's architecture and sights are to be had from the top of an omnibus. And I should point out that to our foreign guests, that there is a skylight in the roof, allowing a view of the interior from the seats above. That's very strange. Like, what if a woman was up there? Because in that day and age, they would definitely be wearing, like, skirts and stuff like that. It's very unbecoming. Or were they not allowed on? I'm not entirely sure about that. Was this actually a thing? I don't even know. Ah, skylights. Oh! The penny drops at last, I see. These 2 gentlemen were occupying the rooftop seats on the omnibus when the murder took place. This is how they came to witness the grim incident. Through the skylight. That makes perfect sense. Well, counsel, this is a first. In my years behind the bench, I've never experienced the crime scene itself being brought into the courtroom. The wig's falling off. A number of important clues remaining inside the carriage, my lord. I'd like to submit the omnibus itself as evidence. That is the prosecution's wish. There we go, he's fixed it. Very well, I see no reason why not. This omnibus is hereby formally accepted as evidence. The omnibus has been entered into the court record. Can't believe it. The entire crime scene entered as evidence. Yes, Great Britain is simply extraordinary. I could help myself a lot by giving the omnibus a thorough examination, seeing as it's here. Let us continue with proceedings, then. Your cross-examination, counsel. Pray don't expect this Nipponese stray to understand the intricacies of a British court's cross-examination rights. All right. My first cross-examination in a British court. Focus, Ryu. Focus. Right, I want to look at the evidence first. Cross-examination. What the witnesses saw. Right, before we get into it, obviously, evidence, please. Okay, so autopsy report. A report prepared by Scotland Yard coroner gives the cause of death as internal hemorrhaging as a result of a sudden stab wound to the abdomen. So, victim name, thrice fired mason, male. Age 54, occupation brick maker. Okay. Time and cause of death, 15th of February, 10 to 11 p.m. Stabbed once in the abdomen with a knife whilst journeying in an omnibus. Died due to internal hemorrhaging resulting from the trauma. That makes sense, so he's stabbed. We got that much. Yep. Looks like he's been stabbed, alright. Like, definitely a stab wound there. What's with the missing button, though? That could be significant. This is the type of thing you've got to look out for. That missing button there could be a significant thing. Might not be. Might just be part of his get-up entirely, but I don't know. But it's the button is missing. So a photograph of the victim taken on the omnibus. The knife in his abdomen is clearly visible, but his face is partially obscured from view by an old crooked hat. Defendant's leather gloves. So the hat's probably going to be important, otherwise why would you bring it up? Defendant's leather gloves. The leather gloves the defendant was wearing at the time of the incident. There's a blood stain on the right glove. Okay, they do look fairly simple, like nothing inside them or anything like that that we could easily point to. This is definitely blood, isn't it? The most pleasant sight to be confronted with on our first day in London. Well, nothing will come of grumbling now. No. By the way, is Mr. McGilded right-handed? Yes, I believe so. He was toying with a coin in his right hand a little earlier. That's true, he was. Alright. Pity. But he had been left-handed, but even then he could be ambidextrous. I think blood on either glove would be fairly incriminating, really. It doesn't really affect too much. Don't see anything else at all worth pointing out here. They both have like the 3 groovy type marks there, so it's like, yeah, they're pretty much the same either way. Apart from the blood, obviously. So yeah, the omnibus. The 8-seater omnibus that was the scene of the crime. There were passengers both inside the carriage and on the roof deck that night. Okay, can we look under the carriage at all? 418. Pheonix Wright Omnibus. Alright then. Assuming that's pointing to the window. London 5th Avenue. Don't see any other like... Oh, there we go. Well, let's open the door and go inside, shall we? The scene of a murder. It's horrible. Yes, but we need to know. It's blood that's soaked into the seat, the victim's, obviously. Yes, and that seat would be clearly visible from the roof deck. Did you really stab someone in full view of the other passengers like that, I wonder? And it was after dark. And there was a lamp on in here, so perhaps the culprit couldn't see anything outside through the skylight. Possible? Whichever way you look at it, it doesn't seem like it was a planned attack. Okay. That's a poster for the great exhibition that's due to start 6 months from now. There's a lot of focus being drawn to the Crystal Tower, the centerpiece of the whole exposition. I'm wondering if that place is going to burn down, because I'm assuming that's going to be reference to the Crystal Palace, which is a palace around these times that was made of crystal, made of glass. But it's gone now, it burned down. Oh, the Crystal Tower, it's under construction already, I believe. People all over London must be fizzing with excitement at the prospect of such a grand event. Fizzing? Fizzing? That'll take us back out, won't it? It's quite a large skylight, isn't it? Yes, quite large enough to afford a good view into the cabin from the roof deck. And it doesn't appear to be a handle or catch of any description. So I suppose it can't be opened from inside the cabin at least. Wait, why is that? Stuff's not got ticks on it. Feels very strange. Ah, that's a poster for the great exhibition that's due to start 6 months from now. There's a lot of focus being drawn to the Crystal Tower, the centerpiece of the whole exhibition. Essentially the same, but it's just a different poster, so it's like, okay. Alright. Have you seen enough? Let's step back outside then. Feel like we'd seen enough there. Maybe investigating the skylight from the outside. So this is the roof deck of the Omnibus. You must have a wonderful view of London streets from up here. So people sit all the way up here on bitter winter nights, the cold air rushing past them. You have to pay money to do so? Yes? I can't imagine how cold it must feel. That just made me think of something horrible. Imagine being dragged around the city in the freezing cold as a punishment? Perhaps that is the real price you pay to stay out late. Indeed. Not think of anything else to investigate. Not the wheels or anything. Not the lamps. Nope, seems to be it. Okay, very well. It was the last bus of the evening, so I had a few customers. I remember it well. Let's press him. Hold it! Yes, I think it was sometime after 10, wasn't it? Oh, yes, sir. That's right, sir, yes. It was a cold it was, sir. Freezing, in fact. It's like, do I want to press on any of these? It's like I've got nothing really to continue with in the logic of these guys at the moment, because it's like there's just literally nothing. And you had 4 passengers on board at the time, is that correct? Yes, that's right, sir. Not all travelling in the same parts of the bus, of course, though, no. And there were no other passengers when the incident took place? No one alighted, for example? Quite right with that, sir. No other passengers like that, no, none. So nobody fled the scene of the crime, then? To say, the boss insists on it running, he does. Every evening, the last bus of the day. But I do wonder sometimes if it's altogether worthwhile. Yes, sorry to say. What do you mean by that? Well, what with it being so cold and everything. Only making 20 pence on the run, you see. Yes, I spend that much at the pub on the way home, just trying to warm up again. The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus. Hold it! And you saw them through the skylight in the roof of the carriage. That's right. When you sit up at the top deck, the window is right there at your feet. And there was a lamp on the inside, so I had a pretty good view. The 2 of them were wearing hats, and I couldn't exactly make out their faces. But there's not a shred of doubt in my mind that it was Mr. McGilded. How can you be so sure? Well, how can I put it politely? Mr. McGilded is a gentleman of, rather small stature. I couldn't have mistaken him for anyone else. Let's not forget that when the vehicle came to a halt, the only people inside the enclosed cabin, the deceased Mr. Mason and Mr. McGilded. There's no room for doubt here. I really wish there was. Well, yeah, but that'd be easy, wouldn't it? Then out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife right into his guts. Hold it! You actually saw the exact moment it happened? Didn't I already testify to that? Or are you... Or are fair dinkum hard-working city bankers not considered trustworthy these days? Okay. Oh, no, I didn't mean that. This is no good. I really got his back up. Perhaps you could just tell us what you saw in a little more detail. That's my lord. Juror number 3? What's the meaning of this? My mind is made up, my lord. Completely and utterly made up. Made up about what? I don't like the stinking rich, never have. They're always up to something. Or other that they shouldn't be. Every one of them. And that little leprechaun of a man is no exception. Well, he can't fool me. Oh dear. Interesting. No point wasting time listening to any more of this. It's my opinion on the matter anyway. It's precisely what I was about to say. As the foreman of the jury, it is my duty to set a good example to my fellow jurors. What? No. What is happening here? Let me see. Ah, yes, it seems that's how the members of the jury give their verdicts. With fireballs? Yeah, with fire? Apparently, yes. White for innocent and black for guilty. As the 6 members of the jury make their minds up about the case, one by one, they each cast a ball of fire into the great scales of justice, as we saw a moment ago. So if those enormous scales fall completely to the black side, does that mean... Let's do our very best to make sure that doesn't happen. Now I'm even more worried than I was before. Very well. The court acknowledges the change in the jury's stance. Counsel for the defense, please continue with your cross-examination. This is a nightmare.